Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to dive on in and take a first look at Elfking, the Immortal role-playing game from Lucid Eye Publications. It's written by Steve Sella and Joe Sella. Taking a guess on the pronunciation of the last names there. I got to point out there's no artist credit, and it does look like this is AI generated or at least AI modified artwork throughout. So there may not be an artist to credit. This 152 page hardcover is available as a print on demand from Amazon. You can get it here in the US with the PDF for $46.83, or you can grab just the PDF alone from the Lucid Eye website for $25.67. Do you want to mention Lucid Eye Publications is across the pond. So that's why we have the kind of off the wall pricing. All right. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Elf King, the Immortal role playing game. A few things I do want to mention before we jump on in. First off, the fine folks over at Lucid Eye Publications were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, it's important that you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page inside this core rulebook, but I am very curious about Elf King, and I know there were quite a few people in chat during the live stream where I shared a news piece about Elf King who were very curious about this too. And outside just a little bit of information about the kind of theme and setting, I know nothing about this game. So I'm very curious to peek inside. But before we do, let's take a look at the back. Twilights of the Immortal. What madness is this? What insanity wrought such devastation? What be the demon of delirium who might grip our minds so that they be filled with such hate, malice, and vengeance to have worked this ruin upon the glorious world of the immortal Fae, to have drawn us ever down into an endless spiral of this ever war, to have brought such magnificence and glory to its bended knee, to have witnessed the destruction of the ever resplendent kingdoms of Eos and consigned them beneath the iron shod heel of mortal darkness. Those very beings who live in fear, ever shackled to the mistress of time, who see only as far as their short lives can muster, who see naught of the beauty they now defile. A thousand woes be upon them, though they know not of what they have wrought. Dread adventure awaits within the real realms. And then there's a bit more. So let's dive on in. Actually, I should point out, let me show you. This is an Amazon thing. This is not a Lucid Eye Publications thing. But as you can see, the cover, both the front and back cover of this book is a little bit warped. And as you can see, this is off center. Like I said, it's an Amazon thing, and anybody out there who has ordered books from Amazon, they don't have to be print on demand either. It's a real crapshoot sometimes with Amazon that, for one, that the books show up in one piece, that they're not damaged, you know, all banged up in the corners here. At least we don't have that going on. But I don't know. It's just, I don't- it's like Amazon has no respect for the authors of books, of the creators at all. All right, so let's jump on in. So I will point out that the paper stock's very nice. So let's see. There is no art credit, no artist credit. So once again, I think this is AI generated artwork, which is okay. I mean, with small publishers, I don't have an issue with that. If, the Wizards of the Coast, the Paisos, the Chaosiums, things like that out there were doing AI artwork in their releases, yeah, I would have an issue. But if it comes to having some AI generated artwork or no artwork, I would say include the AI generated artwork. Right. So we get a forward and an introduction, a little bit of what is a role playing game. That's kind of a cool map. I do dig the font that's used here on the cover as well. It does have kind of this Michael Moorcock, Elric of Mildabonnet, which, yes, I know that's not how it's supposed to be pronounced, but that's how I've pronounced it for, 40 some years. But kind of a quorum sort of vibe to it. Very cool. I like that. Oh, that's kind of cool. So we've got the Elves of Elfking. Some information already in print concerning the similarities and differences between the common tropes of perhaps more generic elves in other media and Elfking elves. But it's important to repeat these here. Elfking elves are commonly around 7 foot tall, or at times lithe and graceful, and somewhat akin to a dreamlike vision made manifest. It is assumed that most players will play a fake character, at least initially. This is, after all, the primary focus of the game. Though there is ample provision to create a troll thrall, a barbaric ordained warrior, or a Pell witch, and others besides, these ideally should be best left following a familiarity with the setting, whilst the character generation method for all playable characters is almost identical. There are one or two minor differences which are best noted by actual play before moving on. Beginning players may feel that an elf character has somewhat of an advantage. Not strictly true in all cases, but certainly a consideration. Also, the game assumes and is conceived as the Fae being the default and is written with that perspective in mind. One of the key features of the Fae character is that Elf King elves are not merely long lived or lived, they are truly immortal. Aha. I happen to think that it's pretty cool that we have a lot of information packed onto these pages. A lot of times we see with smaller publishers, especially early on, they release game books where the font is fairly large, so that I don't know if it's necessarily always intentional, but the page count feels artificially inflated. Doesn't look like this is going to be the case here. And of course, I say that, and there's all this empty space. Well, this is terminology. So let's see dice, die, plural dice. Elf King dice, exclusively 10 sided. There you go. So we're only going to roll 10-sided dice. So we have d10s and percentile rolls. Okay. So it looks like we've got some core concepts here. Time measurement, the watch. We have found it somewhat helpful to divide the passage of a game day into digestible chunks of time. Rather than rely upon divisions of morning or evening, we have chosen to divide it into 6 4-hour segments. The passage of a single day during a saga, therefore, is divided into 6 parts: dawn, morning, noon, dusk, starlight, and deep night. A complete day is marked following the completion of this sequence, whereupon a new day sequence begins. Scenes and encounters. During the 4-hour period of each watch, so I guess that 4-hour period is considered to be called a watch. We have included the concept of scenes and or encounters. Terms are interchangeable. Rather than the slavish counting of each hour within each watch for every watch within each day, we have settled upon a more narrative-based approach. Therefore, each watch is divided into somewhat between 3 to 6 scenes or encounters. The exact number of which is determined by the GM according to their reasonable consideration of events or predetermined decision. Okay. So this is a scene based game. Introducing the one basic rule. I noticed this has a conversational tone to the presentation, which is fine. So far, we have alluded to the mechanics of the game being somewhat straightforward in the same or similar system being applied to resolving most situations. What follows, therefore, is a further explanation of this mechanic, how it may be utilized, and how it may be adapted in order to make it appropriate for almost any situation which might arise within the Elfking game. And that would be Elfking relies exclusively upon the 10-sided die roll, and all aspects of the game follow from this decimal base and the rule of sevens. That is, whenever a die is rolled, a 7 or more is considered a success. Moreover, a roll of 10 or 0 upon the die is considered a critical success. Of course, when you're rolling percentile dice, that's not the case. A roll of 10 always trumps a normal success, but still only counts as a single successful die roll when calculating final totals. The characteristic or virtue scores, I guess the virtues must be the attributes of each character, determine the number of dice rolled for a specific circumstance. Okay, so it's a dice pool. So there is a difficulty factor set by the game master. So simple is 40-10, routine 60-10, all the way up to improbable, which is 20d10. So it looks as if it's opposed. So that you're not necessarily going to have just a set, oh, you need to have 3 successes to be successful. It looks as if the player and the game master are going to be rolling dice. So if it's something routine, right? So it's 60-10, the game master is going to roll those 60-10. And then the player is going to roll a pool of 10-sided dice based on the attribute or virtue that's appropriate. Kind of the feeling I'm getting. Okay, virtues. Yes, they are. They're the attributes. So we've got might, finesse, reason, will, essence, and elan. No. So you can roll 9 dice, discard the lowest 3, and assign each result to a virtue of the player's choice, or roll 12 dice, discard the lowest 6 results, and assign each. So it is within the realm of possibility for you to have anywhere from 1 die to 10. Well, I guess not. You'd be discarding the lowest rolls, but it is possible that you could roll like 5 1s. Well, you only get to throw out the lowest 3. It says, whilst it can be quite a fulfilling experience to play characters with 1 or 2 low scores. Oh, right here. Here we go. 1 or 2 low scores. It is not to everyone's taste. It's very true. Elfking is primarily concerned with everyone at the table having a good time. You certainly do not wish any player to be miserable. Discarding the lowest 3 results will usually lead to an all around competent character, but perhaps there may be 1 or 2 fake characters who manifest via vagaries of the dice, possessing lower scores across the board. And then through experience, you can increase your virtues, and it looks like your virtues can decrease as well. And then I would think we've got some attributes or scores which are derived from those virtues. We have lifeblood and hit points. Lifeblood's missing the E. Magical defense, physical defense. Wow, there's quite a bit going on with the characters here. Vendettas, bloodlust. What did it say? Skills and lore. Starting equipment. Troll immortal characters. Creating characters with previous experience. Okay, so let's take a look here. We've got skills, perception, persuasion, maneuver, conceal, deception. So you average these out. So that's how you get your skill. So if you had a 5 and a 7, then you'd be looking at having 12 as your total divided in half, right? So you would have 6. Wow, that's it for the skills. Okay. And then we have lures. Lures are a varied array of applied knowledge and, as such, require individual treatment. Are you going to create your own lures? No, here we go. Wilderness, lure of beasts, lure of the infernal realms. Let's try to skip through some of these. Lore of crafting and making. So it looks as if there are more lures than there are skills. Okay, so here we've got combat. I'm taking a guess it's a, a role of game master and player again, that it's opposed. Not that it's just, oh, player rolls dice. So I would take a guess maybe in combat, your defender could win and inflict damage on the attacker. I've seen more and more role playing games that are doing that. And I think part of it is to speed up combat. So we have Division of Time. Elfking, it has to be said, does not overly concern itself with the strict minutiae of logistics and is not a simulation per se. When heroic characters cut huge swaths across vast landscapes, foment war between enemies, or undertake vast quests, they're not overly troubled by what time of day it is. I like that. That's kind of funny. Or whether or not they have sufficient space in their bag for an ornate face. The game is less of a simulation than a vehicle for heroic character development. Therefore, such logistical issues as encumbrance and timekeeping are not strictly ignored, but they are certainly broad brushed. Talking about miniatures. I believe that Lucid Eye Publications actually publishes a miniatures rules system and that they have some miniatures. I believe they do have some Elf King miniatures as well. So, weaponry and equipment. Also, we've got engagement zones. So, our front, our flanks, our rear. It's like this might be if you are mounted. Anatomy of a combat round. The commune preparation phase, magic effects phase, movement phase, road magic, missile resolution phase, melee attack resolution phase, bookkeeping phase, and return to phase 1 or general review phase. Okay. I wonder if that's rude magic. I wonder if that's how it's pronounced. Okay, so we've got our melee weapons table. So we've got a handful of weapons there. And it looks like you have to have a minimal might, minimal finesse, and we've got an attack number. I wonder if that's how many dice you're rolling. I gotta admit that that font is really, really small. So I can see that says mace. I see that says axe. So minimum might is 7. Uh, Optimal is 9, minimum finesse is 6, optimal is 8, and your attack number. So you have minimums as far as who can use what. So just kind of taking a look at that, it would seem like you'll have a good number of characters who are probably going to be wielding, you know, like daggers and spears and that early on until they can kind of level up their virtues. But we don't have a ton of page space divided to combat. So this is coming across as a relatively rules light narrative role playing game. So we have glamours and monstrous entities. So we've got our magic and a bit of a bestiary, is my guess. So these are all spells throughout, or glamours, I should say. And then we have, oh my gosh, these are still more rituals and such. Lords of Eos. Here we go. Here's our monstrous entities. Green Eyes, Dark Globe, a Vampus. Got to be a vampire, right? Feyhound, a Pluke. It's like a goblin. Hey, I'm glad to see that we've got some artwork for these. Each of them has a bit of artwork. It's more in the kind of in the background than anything. We've got natural animals. I think these are magic items here. Yep, enchanted weapons and armor. An artifact possessed of id. Well, look, it's Stormbringer. Or it could be Mournblade. One of the two. So, gameplay. What follows is a number of specific terms which are involved in normal play of Elfking. Such matters as focus, bloodlust, glare, vendettas, and bonds are all common within the setting and detailed here. Fate focus is an expression in game terms of the elven lack of resolve, though it does not apply to troll nor mortal characters. It is often used by the game master to determine the disposition of NPC Fae when confronted by adversity, when a combat is going ill, perhaps, or when a distraction appears. Bloodlust. Troll and mortals do not suffer from a lack of focus. Their psyches are driven more by base instinct rather than fey abstractions. Trolls, in particular, delight in bloodshed and carnage. Combat is the natural state of troll kind. It is the one aspect of their culture which unites them all, and personal might is what defines their existence. So we get a procedure for bloodlust. So it appears that there's like a control roll to see if the NPCs can overcome their bloodlust. So glare is a major focus of the Elf King RPG. It is, rather than silver seals, the real currency of the game. Well, I guess now we know our monetary system are these silver seals. With the accrual of it, players may see their characters rise in status to such heady heights of demigods and even beyond. This should be extremely unlikely, but certainly possible within the game structure. Before any of this is under consideration, however, let us consider humble beginnings. It is supposed that most characters in the sagas will be of Fey origins and will commence the game playing some form of companion to a Thane. This Thane will themselves perhaps be of heroic status, bonding a number of companions to a circle. Okay. Looks like we've got an introductory adventure as well. Different bonds. And then, is this our adventure? Might be. or it's here. Oh no, circles and thanes. Companions, thralls, and bondlings. Becoming a thane. Characters become thanes by first reaching heroic status. From that point, characters are upon the hero path proper, or in the realms of being included within the pages of the Great Red Book, through their great deeds and placed within the histories of the Fae. I sort of had a feeling that this is a role-playing game that could be easily aimed at maybe 2 players and a game master, maybe even one-on-one. So here's our introductory adventure, giving us our situation. So this is certainly a narrative scene-based adventure because, as you can see here, the adventure is just these 5 pages. 6, really, if counting that one there. Oh, no, 7, because we get an aftermath of the adventure. All right, so then we get some credits. It says art created by Lucid Eye Publications. So there's your art credit. Then we got an epilogue. This is very interesting. I like what I've seen. I definitely do like what I've seen. Of course, I am going to have a review in the very near future of Elfking, the Immortal role-playing game. Here's our character sheet. Nice. All right. Very cool. Okay, so that is a look inside Elfking, the Immortal role-playing game from Lucid Eye Publications. Once again, this is print on demand from Amazon for $46.83, which also includes the PDF. Or you can get just the PDF alone from Lucid Eye Publications website for $25.67. All right, that is it for this time out. As I just mentioned, I will have a review of Elfking, the Immortal role-playing game, in the very near future. So thank you very much for joining me today. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this first look, also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.